why you shouldn't hate the Mazda RX8. That rhymes. Why the RX8 is actually a really good car and why it is so damn underrated. First, we're going to talk about why people hate the RX8, and then explain why it actually is really damn good. So let's go. This video was requested by one of us. Gloomsdoom wanted to see a video on the RX8, and now here it is. Let's jump right into it. So, why do people hate the Mazda RX8? Well, right, let's walk around to the front of the car, pop the bonnet. There it is. It's the engine. It's a 13B Rotary, and that already brings a lot of problems. They are incredibly unreliable. You know, one throw the word apex seals, perhaps. Let's sort of explain this out. So we all know what a rotary engine is. It's a giant spinning Dorito, just in a hole, basically. And so obviously, at each edge of the Dorito, you have to have something to make it airtight, so you can actually have combustion happening. And what do they put there? They put an apex seal. And this Dorito goes spinning around at 9,000 RPM, you know, use your brain. That seal isn't going to work forever. And of course, being a rotary, sure, it's just a 1.3 litre, but fuel economy? Yep, a lot of that. Oil consumption? A lot of that. And that's just by design. But wait, there's more. This isn't just any rotary engine. This is what's called the Renesis 13B, which is different from, you know, the 13B in, let's say, the RX-7. And just straight from the natural design of it is intrinsically worse. If you look at the exhaust ports, so they're actually on the plate, and that means as the exhaust gas exits, it has to go through it, hit a 90-degree wall, and then make a turn. Whereas you look at another 13B, this exhaust port is actually on the housing, so the exhaust gas goes out. And you know, with this, you're really got to be always just chasing issues, basically, especially once you modify it. And there's sort of more issues to the RX8 than just the engine. You know, the start is really weak. Some people think RX8 starts slow or have a bad warm start. Mostly, it's the starter. And there's other dumb stuff, you know, condensation in the lights, and weak armrest? Weak armrest? Really? But before we go into what makes the RX8 so damn good, we have to have a little bit of a disclaimer. You see, the RX8 was never meant to be the replacement to the RX-7. Mazda knew this, Mazda said this. And if you look at it, it's kind of obvious. It was well over $20,000 cheaper. It was naturally aspirated, not boosted. It came with, you know, 45 less horsepower at the time of the release and 76 less pound-feet of torque. If you're looking at this as an RX-7 successor, that's wrong. That's very wrong. And another thing people don't really like about the RX8 is, you know, sort of the power, you know, up to 240 horsepower. It's not too much, I mean, it's not bad. Then you look at the torque, 160 pound-feet. Yeah, that's not much at all. In fact, some people have said, you know, stuff like, oh, it's 100 horsepower away from being fun. If you say that, you don't really get the point of low-powered cars. Let me explain. The most fun you can have in a car is when you're driving at 10 tenths right on the limit. You know, when you're really pushing it, that's when you have the most fun. And let's say you have a 600 horsepower car. You can't be on the limit basically anywhere, especially on those really fun, tight, curvy roads. There just really isn't that many opportunities to have fun in it. Let's say you're in a 150 horsepower Miata turd box. You can drive that at 10 tenths literally anywhere. Driving to the shops, to work, on those fun roads, even just suburban streets. Industrial streets, I don't care wherever it is. You can be at 10 tenths. You can have so much fun wherever you go, pushing it to the absolute limit. Because the limits are quite low. And you know, where a lot of people are used to, you know, fun coming from the speed, the power, And these, it's hard to get up to speed, because you don't have much power. So what you need to try to do is to be as effective as possible. You need to try to use the brakes as little as you can. Try to maybe not use them. You know, using the whole road or your whole lane. Absolutely slamming gear shifts. Trying to make that little piece of junk go as fast as you can. Now, I'm not saying the RX8 is 150 horsepower Miata crap box. It's definitely not that, but it's a character that you really should cherish, when you can have fun anywhere without breaking the speed limit too much. Bladed Angel did a really good video on this, and he has a C7 Z06 Corvette. And I'm not saying the RX8's slow, okay? You get the idea, right? But then, right, what makes it great? What makes this RX8 so good? And while a lot of people hate the engine is one of the things that make it great. First of all, that red line, 9,000 RPM. A high red line, it just touches your soul, it just hits different. You know, ringing it right out to 9k with the engine screaming, it feels insane. It's really hard to explain, but think about it this way. Imagine sending it in a car with the 4,000 RPM red line. Yeah, trying to go faster than that, that's not really fun. Then compare it to a normal car where the red line's 6,500 RPM. It's so much funner. And then imagine that same jump up to 9,000. Yeah, that just adds drama, it adds charisma as you drive. And that's something a lot of engines, especially nowadays, don't really do. Then next I want to talk about the sort of delivery of this engine. What's really special about Rotaries is how smooth they run. What do I mean by smooth? Well, if you look at a traditional combustion engine, you know, you've got pistons, they go up, they stop, they go down, they stop, they go up. And that's what happens, but a Rotary is just a little spinny boy, a little spinny Dorito. It doesn't change direction all the time. It's really smooth. And it's really hard to explain why it's so satisfying. It does, it feels different. People say it feels creamy. In fact, I'm pretty sure Jeremy Clarkson said something pretty similar.
RPM, because it doesn't feel like it's running on anything as coarse and vulgar as petrol. It feels like it's running on double cream. Of all the cars I've driven this year, I'm pretty sure this one is the best.
It just feels special. It's the charisma and the satisfaction that comes from that really a lot of engines can't match. And another thing, Rotaries with their sounds. Now of course you could go, you know, bridge ported. You get that insane brapping idle as the intake and the exhaust timing overlaps. And that sounds pretty mean. But even with a straight pipe, it's a smooth mechanical sound. Now it's hard for, you know, to hear it on a device, but in real life that sort of mechanical sound really gets to you. It is quite satisfying. And also intrinsically with the Rotary, you know, they typically got to be lighter than the traditional engine. And when you add all that together, this engine feels so special. The satisfaction and the drama from revving it right up to 9k. That charisma and satisfaction from that smooth, creamy delivery. And that soothing, satisfying sound. When you add all that together, the engine, it just feels special. It's hard to explain, but some engines just make you feel good and are satisfying to use. And this is one of them. And that's really hard to get from a budget sports car. And I know a lot of people won't really get this. These are the people that think an LS swap would be great. And if you don't understand it, I'm not going to argue with you because you don't understand it. Now get it, an LS swap does make sense. It's reliable, you can make power on it. Unfortunately, that's the sort of thing that's wrong with the modern car community in my opinion. All anyone cares about is pushing as much horsepower as you can, 1,000 wheel horsepower and everything, and only judging an engine based off its ability to make power. when from, you know, what I hear, the RS is notoriously strong, but also notoriously boring, but dull. Doesn't feel particularly special to use, it just feels like any V8. The only thing that makes this engine fun is the power, nothing else. And there's more that makes the RX8 great, of course, you know, the drivetrain, the diff and all that. They're very easy to be on the limit. It's very forgiving, you can slide it, you can just keep beating on it, and you still gotta have it. And you know, the shifter feels really good, it's got 50-50 weight distribution, and you take the cats off, it flames. And that's where we get into the end of it, why the RX8 really is so good. And if you want a fast car to make power on, or to be reliable, run away, just run, this isn't the car for you. This is for more of an enthusiast. Someone who wants the fun of working on it to keep it going. Someone that wants a car that feels special. Like an exotic that's obviously much cheaper. Not as special feeling as an exotic, but for the price it's insane. Something that's satisfying to use. Like, for this analogy, you know, if you know watches, it's kind of like this, you know, sure, a quartz watch will be more accurate than a mechanical, and you know, if you put a quartz watch down for too long, it's not going to die, and they're cheaper. But there's just something about a mechanical watch that just feels special. And when you add that feeling to a car that you can have fun with all the time on the street, beat it around with good handling, this is for you. And that's the RX8, that's why it's actually good, that's why the Rotary is good.
Oh my days, this peasant seriously forgot to end the video. Surely hit that like button, that'd be swag. And also maybe chuck a sub for da people of any gender. Cha.